On our wedding anniversary, 7 months pregnant, I caught my husband and his secretary wearing my wedding dress and engaging in sexual intercourse. He sneered and mocked me, locking me in the cold bathroom, leaving me to suffer as my water broke, my abdomen ached, and I bled. My daughter was stillborn, and I almost lost my life. Returning from hell, I meticulously planned my revenge, not only ruining his reputation, throwing him in jail, and bankrupting his company, but also ensuring that his and his mistress's conjoined twin-like scandal spread throughout the city, forever preventing them from recovering. Olivia, come quickly to the Azure Club. I have a surprise for you. On the other end of the phone was my husband of 3 years, Ethan Hayes, his voice carrying a hint of barely perceptible excitement and a strange urgency. I stroked my high, bulging belly, 7 months of pregnancy making me slow and a little breathless. Ethan, it's not very convenient for me right now. Honey, just a moment. I promise it's a surprise. Room B302. I'll be waiting for you. He hung up the phone without allowing refusal. Today is our wedding anniversary. Maybe he wants to give me a romantic surprise? After all, since I became pregnant, he's been increasingly cold towards me, often using overtime as an excuse to not come home at night. A faint glimmer of expectation remained in my heart. I suppressed that unease, changed into a loose-fitting dress, and had the driver take me to Azure Club. Azure is one of the most upscale private clubs in the city, and Ethan is a regular there. The waiter respectfully led me to the outside of Suite B302. The door was ajar, and noisy laughter and suggestive music came from inside. Ethan, you are so bad. A delicate and charming female voice sounded, so familiar that it made my heart stop. She is his secretary, Jessica Miller. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, I peered through the crack in the door. The scene before my eyes was like a poisoned dagger, piercing my heart fiercely, pinning me to the spot, my blood freezing instantly. On the luxurious sofa in the private room, Ethan was passionately kissing Jessica, his hand even reaching inside her blouse. And Jessica, the woman who was usually so docile and obedient, calling me madam so sweetly, was now responding with seductive eyes, her hands around Ethan's neck. What suffocated me the most was that Jessica was wearing the handmade lace wedding dress that I had custom-made by a top Italian designer 3 years ago when I got married, a one-of-a-kind dress in the whole world. That sacred white color now felt like a resounding slap in the face, burning with pain. Ethan, you are so lucky. Your wife's figure is out of shape after pregnancy. How can she be as hot as Jessica? A greasy voice sounded. It was one of Ethan's business partners, also one of his cronies. That's right. Jessica looks much better in this wedding dress than the original owner. Your wife should just stay home and focus on the pregnancy. Jessica can take care of the outside affairs for her. The foul language was unbearable. They laughed, their eyes lingering on Jessica's exposed skin and my wedding dress. Ethan not only didn't stop them, but proudly pinched Jessica's chin, his eyes lightly sweeping over her exquisite curves, and then looked at me at the door with a hint of disgust. He obviously knew I was coming, and said loudly, "It's just a show, just for fun." Olivia is not so ignorant. She knows who is the master. He paused, his voice full of lofty arrogance. Besides, women get ugly when they are pregnant. Their figure changes, and their emotions are unstable. Jessica is young, beautiful, and sensible, and it's more respectable to bring her out. Every word was like an ice that pierced into my bone marrow. So, in his eyes, I am just an appendage who has lost her attractiveness because of pregnancy and can be demeaned at will. The so-called surprise is to let me witness his betrayal and humiliation. A surge of uncontrollable rage and nausea rushed up my throat. I pushed the door open and stormed in. Ethan Hayes, my voice trembled with anger. The laughter in the booth stopped abruptly, and everyone looked at me with different expressions, some surprised, some gleefully anticipating a good show. Ethan frowned, instinctively shielding Jessica behind him, a hint of impatience flashing across his face at being caught in the act. "What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to wait outside?" Jessica hid behind Ethan, peeked out, and curled her lips into a provocative smile. "Madam, why are you here?" Ethan was just saying he was going to give me a title. "Shut up," I scolded sharply. Okay, sister-in-law, don't be angry. Ethan just had too much to drink. Someone started to smooth things over. "Ethan, we need to talk." I forced myself to calm down, staring intently at him. "What's there to talk about? You just had to come and spoil the fun at this time." Ethan's tone was full of blame. "Go back. Don't embarrass yourself here. Embarrass myself? I laughed in anger, but tears welled up uncontrollably. Ethan Hayes, let's get a divorce. Hearing the word divorce, Ethan was stunned for a moment, then chuckled as if he had heard a great joke. Divorce? Olivia, don't forget, you're pregnant now. If you leave me, what will you and the child do? Rely on your meager to support yourselves? Before getting married, I was a freelance writer with some reputation, but after marriage, at his request, I gradually gave up my work and became a full-time housewife. He always looked down on my career. He reached out to pull me, but I shook him off in disgust. His face showed even more impatience, and his tone was condescendingly arrogant. Okay, stop making a scene. I know you're upset, but men have to socialize sometimes. Jessica is young and doesn't understand, so please be understanding. From now on, you two should get along harmoniously. After speaking, he even turned to comfort the tearful Jessica. Okay, baby, don't cry. I told you I'd explain things. Get along harmoniously? He actually wants me to get along harmoniously with this mistress wearing my wedding dress? I felt like I heard the biggest joke of the century, and my stomach churned. The intense nausea could no longer be suppressed, and I bent over suddenly, vomiting with a loud wah. The filth splattered on the hem of Ethan's expensive suit pants, and also soiled the wedding dress on Jessica that should have belonged to me. The entire private room fell silent instantly. Ah, my dress, Jessica screamed, her beautiful face distorted with anger. You crazy woman, you did it on purpose. She rushed over and pushed me hard. I was 7 months pregnant and off balance. With her push, I couldn't stand at all. I cried out and fell backward heavily. Bang! My back slammed hard against the cold, hard floor, and a sharp pain shot through my tailbone. Immediately afterward, a warm liquid flowed uncontrollably from beneath me, soaking my skirt and the floor. My water broke. Immediately, a violent, unprecedented cramp gripped my abdomen, causing my vision to blacken and cold sweat to soak through my clothes in an instant. Ethan, save me, my stomach hurts so much. I curled up on the ground, groaning in pain, instinctively reaching out to the man I once loved deeply, but who now chills me to the bone, begging for help. My child, my child. Ethan saw the puddle of water beneath me and my pained expression, and at first he panicked a little. His face changed slightly, and he took a step forward subconsciously, but at this moment, Jessica covered her nose and screamed with disgust. Ethan, look at her, she actually wet her pants. How disgusting, she must be faking it, trying to win your sympathy and soften your heart with this method. Ethan stopped in his tracks. He looked at the wet patch under me, then at Jessica's certain look, the panic on his face quickly replaced by disgust and anger. He believed it. He actually believed it. Olivia. He took a step back as if I were something dirty, his voice full of disappointment and disdain. I never thought you were so disgusting. To keep me, you would resort to such low-down tricks. Wetting your pants? Who are you putting on a show for? The pain in my abdomen was becoming more and more frequent and intense, as if countless knives were turning inside. I knew things were bad. The baby might be premature. I have to go to the hospital. I struggled to reach for the phone that had fallen to the side, wanting to call emergency services myself. Smack! A shiny leather shoe kicked hard on the back of my hand, sending the phone flying into the corner. It's Ethan. Still acting? He looked down at me condescendingly, his eyes as cold as poisoned ice. Playing these tricks in front of me. Olivia, you're really making me more and more disgusted. Ethan, I beg you, please take me to the hospital. Really, my water broke. The baby, I pleaded humbly, the pain making it impossible for me to say a complete sentence, tears streaming down mixed with cold sweat. My plea only earned me deeper disgust from him. Enough. Stop pretending. I won't fall for your tricks again. I think you're addicted to acting. Ethan completely lost his patience, and he coldly ordered his subordinates standing at the door, security personnel from the club, obviously very familiar with him. Drag her to the toilet next door. Let her reflect on herself. She can come out when she understands. He then pointed to the water stains on the ground, his tone disgusted. Clean this up. It's disgusting to look at. 2 men in black suits stepped forward, grabbed me, who was slumped on the ground, and rudely dragged me towards the small bathroom attached to the private room. Without any regard for my pregnant belly, I struggled desperately, crying and shouting, "Let go of me, Ethan, you'll regret it. Save the baby, save our baby." Ethan turned a deaf ear, turned away indifferently, put his arm around Jessica, and softly comforted her. Okay, baby, don't let this kind of person affect our mood. The others in the private room, those so-called friends, not a single one stood up to say a word for me, but instead let out low chuckles. With a click, the bathroom door was locked from the outside. I was left on the cold, damp tile floor. There were no windows in the bathroom, only a dim overhead light that cast a desperate glow. The smell of disinfectant was pungent, mixed with the amniotic fluid and the smell of blood that was constantly flowing from under me. Yes, I started bleeding. The contractions came one after another, each more intense than the last, the intense pain almost tearing me apart. I curled up on the cold floor, my body trembling uncontrollably, my teeth chattering. I know, I might have to give birth here, and with a massive hemorrhage. The situation is extremely critical. I tried hard to recall the knowledge about childbirth that I had read during pregnancy, trying to adjust my breathing and conserve my strength, but boundless fear and despair overwhelmed me like a tide. The cold ground kept drawing heat from my body, and the blood loss made me dizzy and my consciousness began to blur. No, I can't die, and my child can't die either. I used my last bit of strength to grope for the cold door panel. Where my fingers touched was sticky. It was my blood. A crazy idea flashed through my mind. I dipped my finger in my own blood, trembling, and wrote 3 huge letters on the smooth white door panel with all my might, SOS. Then, with all my strength, I slammed my blood-stained palm hard next to the letters, leaving one shocking bloody handprint after another. This is my last cry for help. Huh? What's this on the door? A man's voice came faintly from outside the door, as if someone had noticed the bloodstains on the door. My heart leaped, and a glimmer of hope ignited. Help! I opened my chapped lips, wanting to call for help, but could only make a faint wheezing sound. What SOS? Looks like someone spilled red wine, right? Ethan's impatient voice sounded. Olivia just likes to play these tricks to attract attention. Ignore her. That's right, brother Ethan. It must be red wine. Madam is really something, playing it so big. Jessica's delicate voice chimed in, with a hint of schadenfreude. All right, stop looking, continue drinking. Ethan's voice was filled with an unquestionable command. The sound of footsteps gradually faded away. My last hope was shattered. Bone-chilling coldness spread from the soles of my feet to my whole body, freezing my heart into an ice block along with it. In desperation, the instinct for survival drove me to make one last attempt. I took off the pregnant woman's coat soaked in blood and amniotic fluid, and with all my strength, I wrote help, B302 toilet, say baby, again in blood on the relatively clean lining. There was a small ventilation window at the top of the bathroom, very high, just enough to fit an arm out. I looked at that small window, the only possible place to reach the outside world. I leaned against the cold wall, moved little by little to the toilet, trembled, used all my strength to step on the toilet lid, then stood on tiptoes, and threw the coat covered in blood and with the plea for help out of the ventilation window with all my might. I don't know where it will fall, and I don't know if anyone will find it, but this is the last thing I can do. The moment I threw the clothes out, my foot slipped, and I lost my balance, falling heavily from the toilet. Thump, with a loud noise, my head hit the hard tile floor hard, my vision went black, and a sharp pain struck. Ethan's voice came from outside the door. What the hell? Are you deliberately making such a big noise to scare someone? Not only did he not show any concern, but he seemed to be provoked. Immediately after, I heard him and Jessica just outside the bathroom door, the disgusting sounds of kissing and flirting. Baby, ignore her. Let's continue. Ethan, you're so bad. They are punishing me in this way, demonstrating to me, separated by a door. Outside is their joy, inside is my hell. Consciousness floats on the edge of darkness, and the pain gradually becomes numb. Scenes from the past flash back before my eyes. Ethan and I met on the university campus. He used to be so sunny and gentle, taking care of me in every possible way. We had sweet romantic times, and his vows when he proposed are still vivid in my mind. He said he would love me for life and give me a happy home. After marriage, his career was booming, and he became busier and more distant, especially after Jessica came. He came home later and later, and the perfume on his body became more and more mixed. It's not that I didn't notice, but I was just deceiving myself, always thinking that things would get better with a child. After the pregnancy, he was initially delighted, but soon became impatient, complaining about my out-of-shape figure and emotional sensitivity. He began openly taking Jessica to various occasions, ignoring my reminders and questions. and even accusing me of being suspicious and unreasonable. So, he had already stopped loving me, or rather, he only loved young, beautiful women who could bring him novelty and satisfy his vanity, and I, the wife who was carrying his child, had long become a burden and obstacle in his eyes. Warm liquid kept flowing from under me, taking away my body temperature, my vitality, and the life of my unborn daughter. Despair was like an airtight net, tightly wrapping me. I don't know how long it had been, but a sudden, urgent knock on the door rang out. "Sir, someone downstairs found this and said it fell from upstairs." A strange, anxious voice came, seemingly from the security guard of the club. "It's my coat. Someone found it." I used the last of my strength to beat on the door panel, making a weak sound. "Help, help, what is it?" It was Ethan's voice, with displeasure at being disturbed. A blood-stained coat with a message for help written on it. "It seems to have fallen from the vent window in this room," the security guard explained. "Oh, that," Ethan said dismissively. "It's my wife. She's just having a little spat with me. Threw it down on purpose." "The blood on it?" "Humph, you know women. It's that time of the month. She accidentally got it on there. It's nothing, just some marital fun. Sorry to embarrass you." "But," the security guard still seemed hesitant. "No buts." Ethan's tone suddenly became stern, with a hint of threat. "This is private property. It's none of your business. If you want to keep your job, get out of here." The security guard was silent for a moment, and finally his timid voice came. Yes, sir, sorry to bother you." The last bit of light also went out. Darkness completely engulfed me. In the last moment before I lost consciousness, I seemed to hear my daughter's weak cry, or maybe it was just my hallucination. When I woke up again, the glaring white light and the strong smell of disinfectant filled my senses. I was in the hospital. A nurse saw me wake up, her face full of sympathy. "You're awake? You lost too much blood, and the situation was very dangerous. We tried our best to save you, but," she paused, her tone heavy, "I'm sorry. Your child, a 7-month-old baby girl, had no vital signs when she was brought in due to prolonged lack of oxygen and delayed treatment. And, because you lost too much blood, your uterus is severely damaged, and it may be difficult to get pregnant again in the future. My daughter is gone. I didn't even get a chance to see her. My body is ruined too." Immense grief and despair instantly overwhelmed me. I couldn't even cry. I only felt a large hole in my heart, with cold wind rushing in. The nurse sighed and picked up my medical record. "We have been trying to contact your husband, Mr. Ethan Hayes, but..." She dialed Ethan's number and put it on speakerphone. The phone rang a few times before being answered, and Jessica's charming and clingy voice came through. "Hello? Looking for Ethan? He's taking a shower." The nurse frowned. "I am a nurse from the Central Hospital. Please let Mr. Ethan listen to the phone." His wife Olivia. Before she could finish, Ethan's extremely impatient voice came from the other end of the phone. "Who is it? So annoying." I said, "I'm busy, Mr. Ethan, your wife." The phone was hung up mercilessly. The nurse, unwilling to give up, called again, but the prompt became, "The number you dialed has been blacklisted." Blacklisted. When I was on the verge of death and losing my child, my husband was with the woman who harmed my daughter and me, and he was unwilling to answer the hospital's call, directly blacklisting the number. At that moment, the last trace of warmth and illusion in my heart was completely reduced to ashes. There is no greater sorrow than a dead heart. No tears, no hysteria, only a deathly silence and coldness. Having crawled back from hell, I am no longer the weak, bullied, and submissive Olivia Hayes. I want a divorce. I want revenge even more. I will make Ethan Hayes, Jessica Miller, and those who watched coldly and helped the evildoers pay a terrible price. I calmly asked the nurse to help me find a reliable caregiver, and then used the caregiver's mobile phone to buy a new mobile phone and SIM card. Then, I contacted a private detective agency with an excellent reputation and transferred all my savings to them, with only one requirement: to collect all the evidence of Ethan Hayes' extramarital affair, the more detailed the better, especially his affair with Jessica Miller. A few days later, while the caregiver was helping me wipe my body, she mysteriously told me a piece of gossip. "Sister Olivia, do you know? The other day the emergency room admitted a man and a woman who were said to have been playing too wildly, in such bizarre positions that they couldn't separate and were carried in like conjoined twins. The man seemed to be the CEO of some company." The nursing assistant clicked her tongue in amazement as she spoke. I happened to be passing by at the time and secretly took videos and photos. That scene, TSK. My heart skipped a beat. Oh, really? What kind of CEO? The nursing assistant described the man's appearance and approximate age, and I was almost certain it was Ethan. Him and Jessica. Heaven really has eyes. I immediately offered to buy the videos and photos from her at a high price. The nursing assistant, seeing the money, readily agreed. The moment I got the video and photos, I looked at Ethan and Jessica entwined tightly on the screen, their expressions painful and embarrassed, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of my mouth. This is truly the best weapon sent by God. At the same time, I had my lawyer report the case to the police for intentional injury, and submitted my injury report and the hospital's diagnostic certificate. After I recovered slightly and could be discharged from the hospital, I did not return to that former home, but checked into a hotel apartment near the hospital. A few days later, Ethan probably finally discovered that I was missing and called me, his tone irritable. Olivia, where the hell have you been? You dare to call the police? Are you crazy? I listened coldly, without saying a word. Maybe my silence made him feel uneasy, so he drove back to our former home. What awaited him was the empty living room wall. That huge wedding photo had already been removed and destroyed at my request. He rushed into the bedroom and saw my flat stomach and a face that was calm without a trace of emotion. The anger on his face instantly faded, replaced by a huge panic. Where's the baby? Olivia, where's our baby? Dead. I uttered these two words calmly, watching his face turn pale instantly, while you locked me in the bathroom, letting me bleed, and flirting with your mistress outside the door. Our daughter died in my womb because of delayed treatment. I stood up and walked to the door of the next room, pushing it open. What should have been a carefully decorated nursery, full of pink warmth, now had only a small black and white photo in the center of the room. It was a photo I had the nurse take of our daughter, who never opened her eyes to see the world. The surroundings were empty and desolate, like a cold morning hall. Go in and see. I turned sideways, my voice without a trace of warmth. See the daughter you killed with your own hands. Ethan staggered into the room, saw the small portrait, and seemed to have all the strength drained from his body. Collapsing to his knees with a thump, he finally broke down, clutching his head and crying loudly, letting out a beast-like wail. No, impossible. How could this be? I didn't know. I really didn't know it would be so serious. He crawled over, trying to grab my leg, but I avoided him with disgust. Olivia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was really wrong. It was all that bitch Jessica who tricked me. She said you were faking it. At the time, I was just too angry. I didn't mean to, he stammered, trying to push the responsibility to Jessica. To me. Forgive me, Olivia. Please forgive me. Can we start over? We're still young. We can still have children. Looking at his tearful, fake face trying to win sympathy, I felt utterly disgusted. Ethan Hayes. I looked down at him, my voice as cold as ice. Put away your cheap tears and crocodile repentance. It's too late. I took out a document from my bag and threw it in front of him. Beep, beep, beep. Divorce agreement. I've already signed it. Ethan raised his tearful face, saw the contents clearly, and his pupils shrank suddenly. You want 70% of the property? Olivia, are you crazy? I'm not crazy, I sneered. This is what you owe me and my daughter. Marital property, including shares in your company. I want 70%. You only have two choices, sign, or be ruined and end up with nothing. Ethan was certainly not reconciled to this, and he began to stall, trying to find a lawyer to negotiate with me, but I didn't give him the chance. I had a private investigator anonymously send blurred photos of Ethan and Jessica being intimate on various occasions, and even entering and leaving hotels, to several financial media outlets and social media influencers. For a time, news of the Hayes Group president's extramarital affair and chaotic private life began to ferment online. Although no names were mentioned, anyone with eyes could guess who it was. Hayes Group's stock price began to be affected, showing a slight decline. I sent him a message. This is just an appetizer. Sign, or see something even more exciting tomorrow. Faced with public pressure and the threat of falling stock prices, Ethan finally couldn't hold on any longer. With red eyes and gritted teeth, he signed the divorce agreement. We quickly completed the divorce proceedings, and he repurchased the Hayes Group shares I received at a high price, according to the agreement. The moment I received the divorce certificate and the huge amount of money, I felt no joy, only a chilling sense of satisfaction. Revenge has only just begun. I immediately had the lawyer file a lawsuit with the court, prosecuting Ethan Hayes for intentional injury. At the same time, I anonymously sent the complete video and high-definition photos taken by the caregiver of Ethan and Jessica being sent to the emergency room due to their Siamese twin state to major news media and online platforms. This time, there was no censoring. I've already come up with the title, Shocking. Famous entrepreneur Ethan Hayes and his secretary Jessica Miller play their way into the emergency room, staging a real-life Siamese twins scenario. Once the video and photos were exposed, they immediately exploded on the entire internet. Its explosiveness and drama far exceeded the previous affair rumors. Ethan and Jessica have completely become the laughingstock of the entire city. In court, faced with conclusive evidence, my injury report, hospital diagnosis, indirect evidence from the club's surveillance footage despite Ethan's tampering, and photos of the blood letter I wrote while locked up, and my calm and logical statement, Ethan's defense was weak and unconvincing. Ultimately, the court found Ethan Hayes guilty of intentional injury and sentenced him to 2 years in prison. Those friends who were present at the time, who watched coldly or even cheered, were also subject to corresponding legal penalties or industry sanctions for providing false evidence or harboring him. I also sued Jessica Miller, demanding the recovery of all the property Ethan gave her during the marriage, including real estate, luxury cars, and luxury goods. The court supported my claim, but that's not enough. I want to make sure they can never recover. I spent money to buy several giant public electronic screens in the busiest areas of downtown, and for a week, 24 hours a day, I continuously played the full text of the court's judgment against Ethan, as well as the disgusting Siamese twins emergency room photos of him and Jessica. The names of Ethan Hayes and Jessica Miller were completely tied to shame, scandal, and crime. They were notorious and could not gain a foothold in the upper class and business world. Having lost Ethan's protection and illegal income, and burdened with the notoriety of being a mistress and having Siamese twins, Jessica Miller quickly fell into a mire of life, becoming impoverished and reviled by everyone. Ethan Hayes spent 2 years in prison. After his release, the Hayes Group, which he founded, had lost its core leader. Its reputation was ruined, and it lost customers. I used the funds from the divorce, along with the core members of the company who had been squeezed and mistreated by him, to gradually nibble away at, acquire, and ultimately declare it bankrupt. He became penniless and isolated. As for me, Olivia, I used the funds from the divorce and the wealth realized from repurchasing shares to establish a new investment company. I absorbed talented and ambitious people from the former Hayes Group who had been buried by Ethan. With precise vision and decisive decision-making, I quickly gained a foothold in the business world. I lost my daughter, lost my former love and family, and also lost the chance to become a mother again. These pains will accompany me for the rest of my life, but I didn't fall on the ruins. I personally buried the past and personally created a new life that belonged to me. The sunlight shines through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows of the office, warm and comforting. I know this is just the beginning.